negotiations in Glasgow, there has been some progress made, and this is certainly a small step in the right direction. However, it's not enough to address the climate emergency and what our United Nations Secretary General has defined as a code red for humanity. What we needed from Glasgow was urgent and ambitious climate action to be implemented now to ensure that we remain well within a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperatures when compared to the pre-industrial level. And this is important because it would avoid some of the worst impacts, especially for many vulnerable communities and farmers that are already struggling to cope with some of the impacts that we're already seeing today across Asia Pacific. For example, changes in rainfall patterns in the season, an increase in the frequency and severity of extreme weather events such as droughts, heat waves, floods, pests and diseases as well. If we look at 2020 alone, climate-related events were the predominant driver for acute hunger in 15 countries globally and affected 16 million people. They displaced 13 million people, and through a study that we undertook together with other research centers, we saw that an increase of 2 degrees Celsius would lead to additional 189 million people that would go hungry. So it is really important to try and keep the increase to 1.5. Now, before COP26, countries, through the national emission reduction targets, also known as the NDCs, had committed to what would lead us to an increase in temperature of 2.7 degrees Celsius, so well above what is needed to avoid catastrophic climate change. Now, during COP26, we have seen a number of pledges that have been made by different countries, and if these pledges were to be implemented, then they would reduce the potential increase in temperatures to 1.8 degrees Celsius. And this is significant because it's the first time that we have such a commitment to an ambitious target below 2 degrees Celsius. However, these are pledges, and it remains to see how and when they would then be operationalized, because it would certainly require considerable investments and a revision of policies. One of the other important points of this COP26 discussion was related to financing for adaptation. There remains well below what are the needs, what has been estimated to be the needs, and even in that case, while there have been some commitments done by governments, this is not sufficient. It's not sufficient funding for adaptation, and especially to really be channeled to support communities which are already vulnerable, to protect their house, to protect their crops and their livelihoods. So overall, we have seen some progress in the right direction, but it is certain that a lot more needs to be done to meet the emergency. And for us, it's clear that as WFP, we need to double up our efforts to support those who are most vulnerable and food insecure.